I'm Tom Prenderville, Solutions Architect at Palo Alto Networks. Today we are going to walk through the deployment of CN Series Next-Generation Firewall on RedHat OpenShift container platform. In order to do this, we're going to use what's called an operator, as there is a certified operator built for CN Series to deploy on OpenShift. The operators will make for ease of deployment on a Kubernetes platform. So if we start searching Palo Alto, you'll see two operators, one community, one certified. We're going to do the pan CN series operator. And in order to get this installed in our cluster so we can deploy an instance of this operator, just click this install button. Now, we're prompted to go to a recommended namespace. This is all handled for us by default. Click install. So this will take a moment to install in the background, and will soon show as an installed operator on this side tab. Okay, so we'll view the operator. And this is where we can create an instance of the operator. But before we do so, I'd like to go back into the operator hub. And I want to look at this listing for a second. So here is a bit of an overview of the product and also some pre-install and post-install steps. So the pre-install steps require installation and configuration of Panorama, as you'll see up here. So here's a walkthrough of how to install the prereqs necessary for deploying the CN series. There's also a post-install step that requires deploying a Kubernetes resource in each of the app namespaces that you wish to monitor. And that is walked through at the bottom of this page here. This being the resource needed to apply in the target namespace. And the GitHub repository, shall you need to inspect, is the same link here. Okay. Going back to the installed operator, we need to install an operand, or an instance of the firewall in this cluster. In order to do so, we'll do create instance. We can leave the name is the same, however you might want to change this for your deployment, and maybe add some labels as well. So we'll look at the data plane options. Again, you can scale your CPU up and down depending on your needs, and this will be the image that you need to pull. This does not need to change in this iteration of the release. Same goes for these. You can scale your CPUs as necessary. Please refer to our spec sheet, which was in that install screen, in order to determine what your specs should be. Same for the container network interface. And now these are the values of interest, and this CSP stands for Customer Support Portal. And this is your information, your customer information as a Palo Alto customer. We're going to put our PIN in here, our PIN value. And we're not going to add an alternate URL for this deployment. We have fail open or fail close as our two options here for if we do not have a license. This will be the operation mode that the firewall goes into. And for this, we're going to do deployment versus daemon set. This is a Kubernetes notion, deployment being a pod, a daemon set being a daemon set on each node in the cluster. We're going to choose the latest version here. Open the panorama. This container group name, device group name, and template, this is all configured in your instance of Panorama. And then this is the IP address of your Panorama. So we'll go ahead and create this. Now in the background, this is deploying the firewalls in the Kube system namespace. We'll give that a second for it to do its thing. All right, and we can see the firewall spinning up. So this is the pan CNI on each of the nodes. This is the network interface necessary to do the networking plumbing, basically from the app namespaces into the data plane, and then thus the management plane, which connects with Panorama. So while this is still initializing, we can take a look in Panorama to see if we have any connection just yet. I anticipate not. These will change to connected shortly. We'll go back to our pods. We're just about there with everything running up. Okay, looks like the management planes are coming up. Same with the data plane. And again, these are all the instances of the network interface on each of the nodes on the underlying cluster. So if we go into the terminal, see if we have an IPsec status yet. Still connecting. This will take a few moments to boot up and get all the licensing deployed onto the firewall. If we look at the logs, you'll see that this is just starting up. It does take a few minutes for the management plane and the data plane to boot up, get all the licensing, and do all the pre-install steps. And then they connect to Panorama via an IPsec tunnel. Okay, we see one of the management planes has come up. Let's see if we have an IPsec. Yes, we do. And let's check to see if we are connected in Panorama. Not yet. As soon as this becomes ready, we should see the connection in Panorama between the data plane, the management plane, and then Panorama. Okay, so now we have both management pods up and running, and our data plane pod appears to be running as well. We'll check the logs. It says Panorama is pushed. Check the terminal. Have an established connection to the management plane. And let's check that the management plane is checking in with Panorama. And it is. So now we have installed the CN series on OpenShift and have a running container next generation firewall deployed. Thank you.